Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our Q&A session today. My name's Nicole. I will be your host today, for lack of a better word. We wanted to open up the team here so you have resources at your disposal for about an hour once a month to get some questions that you may have related to your SAP Access, get you answers to those burning questions that you may have. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. Quick introduction. Again, my name is Nicole Land. I'm one of the newest instructors with Michael Management, but we've also got Claire Albaum on the call today and Sarah Blackman. Claire is the training manager at MMC. Claire, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Definitely. Hi, all. Good morning. So as Nicole said, I'm the training manager here at Michael Management. So I both work with finding new instructors as well as managing our live classes with Nicole. So I'm glad that you're all here, and look out for an email from me afterwards. I will send out a recording of this. We also have a great YouTube channel with lots of resources, but all of our past fireside chats. So those are great. We generally answer different questions every week. So those are a good resource. If you feel like there's something else about Access that you're still interested in, make sure to take a look at those.
Awesome, thank you. We've also got Sarah Blackman. Sarah is one of our more technical resources, so if there are any questions on the call today that are more technical in nature, she is going to be the one to step in and help answer those questions. I will be able to answer more functional related questions. So we have hopefully a full broad spectrum of resources on the call today to get any questions you guys may have answered within the hour. I will say you are all on mute as of right now. I have everyone muted, and we have the questions forum within the webinar. So as we move along today, if you have a question, feel free to log it in the questions panel of the webinar. Or if you want to click to raise your hand, I will circle around and open it up for questions here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We did prepare some slides, some information that might help get the conversation started. So I might answer a question that you have already coming up in the information we're going to present automatically. But if I don't, again, feel free to log your question into the questions panel. And when we open it up for questions, I will just start going through those and addressing your questions that you may have. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to point out in our Q&A session today is the various system access options that Michael Management offers. This is a screenshot of the more popular SAP systems that we are offering, but there are many others, and these are all listed on the website. And here in just a minute, I will go over to the website and I will show you how you get to this particular page, and then you can choose the appropriate system access that suits your needs. And it is a subscription. There's a monthly or yearly pricing available. And Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have 10 days to decide if that system is going to meet your needs. And if it doesn't, you want to switch to a different system or just back out altogether. I believe you have 10 days to kind of try out the system that you sign up for in order to get a refund if it is not something that meets your expectations. Sarah, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a 10-day customer guarantee. So at any time during the first 10 days, you can chat, email, just let us know, hey, it's not working out for me, and we'll fully refund you. Not a lot of back and forth like at some places. We just want you to be happy. We know SAP is expansive. Not everything works for everyone. And then I do want to speak to the whole switching system things. That you can actually do whenever you want. So I have some customers who say, hey, Sarah, I want to work in 1809 right now, but I know in a couple months we're going to do 1909 at my job. I want to get the yearly option because it's 25% discount basically when you purchase yearly, but I know I'm going to need to switch releases halfway through. Is that okay? Yes, just email me or chat me again and say, hey, I want to be on this system instead. As long as it costs the same, I'll move you around as often as you like.
Excellent, very good. So those are the options. Again, I'm going to hop over to the website really quickly just to show you how to get to that. From the michaelmanagement.com website, you will see a navigation bar near the top, and one of the first options is SAP Access. If you click on that hyperlink, you will come to this SAP Access page, which again, the most popular systems are listed at the top, but if you continue to scroll down, you will see there is a large selection to choose from. So you are not limited to just these 4 choices. And again, there are monthly and yearly subscriptions available. Okay, so let's talk about what you can do with the Access, and this applies to any of the systems in which you sign up for a subscription. You have access to do your own configuration. If you want the developer access, you will have access to the ABAP development, the ABAP workbench, so you can create custom transactions or custom code. You can obviously create master data, and then you can obviously transact that master data and create actual transactions for testing or just functional experience within the various modules of SAP. So you are not limited really in what you can do. There are some limitations, but for the most part, once you sign up to a system, once you get your subscription active, you have full access to that system. I did want to point out that there is an option for a private system. So if you get a general subscription, that's going to be a subscription to the public or the shared systems that we have, but you can also get a private subscription, and that is to a system that you do not have to share with anyone else. So in that system, you alone control the system config. You don't have to worry about somebody else coming in and changing that config or deleting that config or otherwise altering that system setup that you've worked so hard to create. So if you're using the MMC systems for demos and testing, things like that, this might be a better option for you to make sure that no one is in there, no more fingers are in the system than absolutely necessary. So that is a private system subscription. I did want to point out that we have both options available. Now let's kind of talk about functionally what you can do with SAP. You can always change how the system is displayed to you. This is a personal preference. So one of the first things I do when I get access to a new system is go select the theme that I'm most comfortable with. And again, this is a personal preference. You can set it up to look however you choose, and you do that by going to your Start menu, assuming you have a Windows. If not, you'll have the same functionality available on a Mac. But you're looking for that SAP front end folder within your Start menu. Then you'll choose the option for the SAP GUI configuration. And from there, you will get a pop-up, depending on the system that you're in. The pop-up will look a little bit like this. It may not look exactly like this, but within that visual design folder, you can select the theme, and the theme is going to control how SAP looks and feels to you as a particular user. This does not alter the functionality available in the system. It's just like putting on a sweater, right? You're just changing how the system looks from one login to the next. So that's something I always do when I first start out in a new system, is get it level setted to the configuration options that I am used to. From there, let's talk about logging in. This seems pretty simple and basic, but I also want to make sure we cover it in this Q&A. How do you log in once you get your access? There are free videos, free on-demand videos on the Michael Management website that guide you through downloading the desktop GUI to your computer. Once you have that desktop GUI downloaded, you can log on using the SAP Logon Pad, and then you will double-click the option, the system to which you have subscribed to, and provide your logon details. If you are on a computer, perhaps you have a work computer and you don't have administrative rights to download and install software, that's okay too. We have web GUI links that we can provide to you that do not require a system download. And it is, for the most part, the same functionality that you're going to get out of the desktop GUI with some limitations. There are some limitations to the web GUI, but all the functionality is still widely available in the web GUI. And when it actually comes to logging on, whether you're on the desktop version or the web GUI, there are 3 pieces of information you're going to need to provide: the client, your user ID, and your password. And all of that information, once you've gotten your subscription access all squared away, you will have an email from the micromanagement team providing you this information. So you will have the client, you will have your user ID, and you'll have an initial password. And you can feel free to change that password upon your initial login. Let's talk about setting some favorites. If you're new to SAP, which I don't know, some of you may be very new to SAP, I would highly recommend you start setting some favorites, because one of the things you're going to need to do is get to those transactions quickly, and you may not remember where they are in the SAP navigation menu path. If you save them to your favorites, then you don't have to worry about hunting and finding them over and over and over again. You can just drag them up. You can right-click on your favorites folder and choose Insert Transaction, or you can drag and drop a transaction from the SAP menu up into your favorites folder. This will keep them handy right there at your fingertips, so you don't have to worry about remembering how to navigate through the path. There's going to be a lot being thrown at you as a new user to the system, that this should be one of the last things you have to worry about. So that's one of the first things I always recommend to new users, is to set your favorites folder up, to use things, to have things handy that you might want to use over and over and over again. And again, if you have questions as we go through, feel free to log those questions into the questions panel of your webinar. And when we get to that portion of the Q&A today, I will go through the questions log and start answering any questions that I perhaps have not answered through this initial stage. Your user settings. Every user ID that is set up in the system will have the ability to define user parameters. And you get there through the More, the System, and then the User Data menu path. And this is where you decide how you want your decimals or your dates and your time format displayed in the SAP system. If we have users in Europe, the European users obviously have a different way of notating their decimal format from the US. So that is something you can set within your user parameters. And if you prefer your date format in a particular way, you can set that there as well as your time format. You can do a 12-hour AM, PM, or you can do the 24-hour format as well. And this is a system by system entry. So if you do subscribe to multiple systems, you would need to set these parameters within each system. Okay, let's talk about the SAP menu. Again, if you're very new to SAP and this is your first exposure to SAP, it can be a little overwhelming, but I do encourage you to explore the SAP menu. This is where you're going to find the functions available across all the common functional modules of SAP. So if you've heard of the materials management module or the sales and distribution module or the quality management module, those are actual folders in the SAP menu, and the functions or the transactions that belong to those functional modules are all within those subfolders. So the more exploring you do, the more expertise, the more experience you're going to get within those modules. Okay, so again, the materials management module is its own folder. Sales and distribution, the logistics execution. This is delivery processing, some inventory management. The production module is also available, and the quality management module. Those are some of the more common modules across many industries and many companies. There are some less common modules like plant maintenance, things like that. So feel free to explore that. You have full access to do whatever it is that you want or need to do within the system. Let's talk about how you find data in the system. If you want to learn how to do things in SAP, you're going to need some data to do those things with, right? So the first thing I would recommend is finding some materials that are already set up in the system. They could have been set up by you. They could have been set up by one of the many other users in the system. MM60 is the transaction. It's a standard SAP transaction that will allow you to query the SAP system for existing materials that you can then play with in however manner you wish to play with whatever it is that you're testing or learning or training on. You'll need to probably find some materials. So MM60 is probably the first thing I would do in any new system to find some existing materials that we can play with. You might also want to find some existing sales orders. If you find an existing sales order, on that sales order, you're going to find a lot of other master data. You're going to find a material or multiple materials on a sales order. You may find customers on a sales order. You may find the organizational structures that have been set up in the system. So I would definitely encourage you to use VA05, which will allow you to query the system to find existing sales orders that have been created by various users of the system. And again, that's going to give you access to multiple pieces of master data, such as customer and material master data as well. If you are a finance user or you want to start exploring some of the finance things, I would encourage you to use the FBL3N transaction. This is going to give you access to any GL accounts that have been set up in the system. And again, that's going to set the stage for other pieces of master data like cost centers and profit centers, or vendor codes or company codes. All of that you would be able to get your fingertips on using the GL account query. Once you have GL accounts that you found in the system, they can then lead you to other pieces of data and other transactions that you can start gaining finance experience. I do also want to talk about error messages. So once you get into SAP, you will inevitably come across some sort of error message. And I don't want that to intimidate you. I don't want that to scare you. And I certainly don't want that to make you throw your hands up and walk away from the experience, because learning how to troubleshoot and read and understand and ultimately resolve error messages is part of SAP. That's understanding those messages and what to do with that information is what's going to make you a great SAP user in the long run. So I will tell you that the Michael Management website has a fantastic error message lookup tool. They have every message out there that SAP might give you that will help you understand what that message is telling you, because sometimes the messages in SAP can be a little cryptic. Cryptic meaning it's not always very clear what SAP is trying to tell you. It's not always clear what's actually wrong or what's actually triggering the error message. So if you do come across something that doesn't make any sense, I really encourage you to check out the free resources on the Michael Management site, or even Google. If you start Googling, you will find many SAP forums out there, whether they're on the SAP knowledge site itself or other user communities that are just experts in the SAP area. You will find a wealth of information around the error message if you just look at the message number, the message ID, or even copy and paste the message text directly into your Google browser. You are going to find a ton of information that should help you figure out what's going on, what it is you need to do to resolve that error. Just don't give up, don't get frustrated. It is part of the process. It is part of the experience of SAP. Okay, so I am going to pause here and kind of open it up for questions, assuming I don't have any in there, but if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand through the webinar and I can just unmute your microphone and you can just jump right in. So I'll give that maybe about 5-10 seconds here to see if anybody has their hand raised or a question pops up into our question panel. If not, then I'm going to move on and I will come back. So don't think I won't get your question to answer it if you do pop it in there. But some of, yes, go ahead.
It looks like Mohammed has, they've had their hand raised for.
Oh, there it is, Mohammed. Okay, let me take Mohammed. You are self-muted, Mohammed. If you want to unmute yourself, then you can just jump right in and ask a question. Mohammed, are you there? Looks like you are unmuted, but I'm not hearing you. If you want to use the question. There you are. Yes, I hear you now.
Okay. My question is, I've been in SAP for many years. I used to work for different, hospitals in Toronto area. I'm from Toronto, Canada. My question is in regard to, let's say, for example, training for my colleague. And I just want to ask you, question should be related to your previous discussion, or I can ask general question regarding SAP Access.
Any question. Yeah, that's what we're here for, is any question. We just wanted to, help guide the conversation in case you didn't have a specific question. But if you have a specific question, feel free to ask it here.
Yeah. So I'm currently looking for the SAP Access for me and for my colleague for training purpose. Should I go to Michael Management, or can you give me any idea about that?
Yeah, so I would absolutely direct you to Michael Management website, the michaelmanagement.com website. You will find training courses readily available. So that is
not from the Michael Management. I want to use my experience, and I want to train for my 3, 4, 5 colleagues, because our company has limited budget. They can't afford external resource right now. So if I can get access from Michael Management for 4 or 5 student colleagues, and I can train people for 4 or 5 people, because my management want me to train with the minimum budget. Can I do that from Michael Management? Can I get access?
Yes. So you have options to get subscriptions for individuals or an entire company. So Sarah, do you want to talk about the difference maybe in pricing of access to the systems for an individual versus a group?
Yes. If I can get a price from you, or should I contact to Michael Management?
Sarah's on here. She can speak to that. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, it just is really going to depend, what you want, your options, and how many people you want on it. Generally, when you look at 10 plus users is when we start looking at group discounts. If there's something that your company is interested in and you're not 100% sure that you have the budget for it, sorry, I got muted there for a second. It would never hurt to just reach out to me via email or chat, and I'll at least try. We don't do a lot of discounts. Honestly, we try to price everything low on the front end for you guys, just so that people can afford it when they need it. But
I can understand. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if you're,
I'll send an email. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm info@michaelmanagement.com, or also I do a lot of the live chat as well. So I'm pretty easy to reach, and we'll keep taking questions, but everybody can just keep that in mind as well.
No, appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a good question, but Mohammed, I did want to expand on the types of training available from Michael Management. So obviously Michael Management, one of the core skill sets that they offer is they engage with training people like me and yourself. So you can publish your own courses out to the Michael Management website, and there's a huge student audience. So if you want an on-demand course of how to create a material master record, for example, or how to run MRP, you can use the library, the on-demand course library that is on the website to deliver those training courses to your users. If you want your own system and you want to control the training, then yes, you would need an Access subscription to one of the systems, and then you would have your 4 or 5, 10 users, whoever it is, have access to that one system, and you can do whatever kind of training that you want to do. But I did want to point out that there are on-demand courses, hundreds of on-demand courses already out there and available with data already set up and exercises and quizzes, in case that would help prevent you from having to design an entire course to train your own employees. Okay, so that's all I wanted to point out. The difference is the on-demand versus Access, and then you training on your own. We also have live training classes. So we have one-day jumpstart classes, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit as well. But there are tons of options when it comes to training your user base within a company. Okay, so no more questions just yet. And Mohammed, I do apologize. I did not see your hand up in my little list, so I'm going to make sure I look at that more closely going forward. But it doesn't look like anybody else has their hand up. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to talk about how you might jumpstart your own experience within the system if you do decide to purchase a subscription or access to one of the systems. How can you get moving beyond just logging into the system? So I've tried to put together 3 levels of exercises, from beginner level to intermediate to advanced levels of exercises across the materials management module, the sales and distribution module, and then the finance module. So here is the list of exercises that you could do on your own to kind of get your journey going within the SAP system. So a beginner exercise is, like I said before, use MM60 to find a material in the system. If you want to build on that, you can then use MM03 to display that material and try to identify the org structure to which that material was created under. And then if you wanted to go even further, you could then create your own material using MM01 and use that existing material as a guide. You could basically copy that same material and get some experience with creating your own material masters in SAP. So that is a easy, intermediate, and more advanced level exercises that I would encourage you guys to do. From a sales and distribution perspective, again, using VA05 is a very easy thing you can do. It's just a query to find existing sales orders in the system. From there, you can step it up, and then you can display that order using VA03, and you can determine the customer, the materials, the org structure, the shipping details around that order. And then again, more advanced exercise is to use that existing order as a guide to create your own order using VA01. So those are some sales and distribution exercises. And then finally, some finance exercises. Again, using the FBL3N, you can look for existing GL accounts. Once you've found one, you can use FSP0 to display and navigate through that existing GL account. And then if you're up for it, you can also use FSP0 to create a new GL account using that one as a guide, much like we've seen in the last examples. That should get you going. That should at least jumpstart your journey. And if you're still kind of stuck from there about what you're going to use this system for, how can you use it to learn or gain experience or train other users, there is a wealth of information on the Michael Management website. These resources are completely free. We have ebooks, we have cheat sheets and infographics at the link here. And you will get access to this presentation, so you have these links at your disposal. There is a blog that we've published around getting started with your SAP Access subscription, so I would definitely encourage you to read through that. And then again, that error message tool that I mentioned before, there's a hyperlink here. So if you do come across an error message in SAP, and you're not quite sure what it's trying to tell you, I would definitely encourage you to use this lookup tool. It's going to help guide you through what you need to do. We have some not so free resources as well. We have simulation courses, which Sarah can speak to more here in just a minute. And then we have some live Jumpstart courses. These are instructor-led. They're virtual. They're in a virtual classroom, but you will be with a live instructor in a small class size. In fact, I teach several of them myself. So we have live Jumpstart classes, and then we have some one-on-one SAP Access sessions as well. And I'm going to let Sarah kind of jump in here and talk about the simulation courses and the one-on-one access session.
Hey, so simulation courses are pretty interesting. I always recommend, especially if you're newer and you're not sure if you need access or if you want it or if you're ready for it yet, and you're going to get some training anyway, or maybe you thought, oh, I'll just jump in the sandbox. SAP is not really the kind of software where you can just jump in to the sandbox and figure it out. Unfortunately, it's pretty complex software. It's probably the only software I've ever not been able to just jump in the sandbox personally and figure out on my own. So I just don't recommend learning that way. That's why we have over 300 courses, and the simulation courses are not just my favorite, but I think a favorite on the whole, because you do get some practice within it. You're not just reading, you're not just watching a video, but instead you have integrated almost like a miniature version of Access that basically takes you through the steps of how to perform whatever particular actions you're learning in that course. And then you have a quiz and then a test at the end as well, where you are live clicking through that simulator. So that's why it's called a simulation course. And if you're on the fence about, I would like to kind of play around and see the system and click in it, but if I got in there, what would I do? I don't even know. Start here instead, and then maybe later you'll be ready for live access. It's definitely what I recommend. And we have these courses that we have the link to right here. We'll give you all the simulation courses. So there's a lot of sort options when you look at the course catalog, and you can just only look at the simulation courses and not even bother with anything else if that's what you like and that's your learning style. And then Nicole also does our live jumpstart courses, and then I do these one-on-one SAP Access sessions. So we give you a lot of free resources to set up your Access. You have a PDF guide, and we have one for each kind of operating system for Mac and a Windows. It's not going to work on like Ubuntu or Linux. I've tried, sorry. But you do have both those options. We also have a video lesson on the website. It's listed as a free course called Installing the SAP GUI. So maybe you've used all those resources and it's not working right for you for some reason, or maybe you just don't have time to do it yourself. You can go on and purchase. It's $39. It's a one-on-one consult. It will typically be with me personally. And what I'm flexible about it. You know, if you want to do it over the phone, over go-to meeting like this, but what I typically have people do is we have a live chat on our website. So I'll just get you on the live chat, and then I can remote into your computer and just do it for you. So nice and simple. You just have to make sure the GUI itself is installed first.
Cool, awesome, thank you, Sarah. Okay, so those were some free resources and some not so free resources, but the point is we have a wealth of resources available to you. So if you leave here today and you're still wondering what it is that you are wanting out of micromanagement, again, I would recommend some of those simulation courses. That way you don't have to have access and just stare at a blank screen. They're gonna guide you through topics, they're gonna guide you through transactions, and you're gonna be able to have like Sarah mentioned, a mini version of Access through the simulated sandbox. So I would definitely start there if you really have no idea where else to start. And the live jumpstart courses, I can't promote those enough. They are very interactive, very hands-on. It is not where you sit in front of your screen for 6 hours or 8 hours and just watch a PowerPoint. We will have topics introduced, but then we will then move away from a PowerPoint slide and we will immediately jump into an SAP system where I guide you through a transaction. So we have SAP Jumpstarts for SAP introductory courses. We have a materials management Jumpstart course if you want to focus on the materials management module. And we have a sales and distribution Jumpstart course if you want to focus more on the SD module. I believe there is also a finance Jumpstart course that is being launched as well. So if that is the module you're more interested in, there is a list of all the courses and the dates in which they're held at that live Jumpstart courses link. But after that, we are at the end of my presentation. So if you don't have any more questions, or if you don't want to raise your hand, I'll give it a few more seconds here. Otherwise, I will return you to your day, and we hope to cross paths again. So again, if you do have a question, just type it into that questions panel or click the raised hand button and I can just unmute you. If not, going once,
and
going twice. Yeah.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I just want to give everybody my contact information one more time in case you think of a question later after we've ended the session. So it's just info@michaelmanagement.com, or you can hop on our website for a live chat, typically during business hours, which for us is 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. EST. And then we're open 8:30 to noon 30 EST on Fridays. Also, other days are Mondays through Thursday. We have summer hours right now. And then so on the weekends, we'll try to get to you anyway. I try to get you guys responses as fast as possible, but can't always get to you same day on the weekend. Otherwise, usually 24 hours or less, I'll get back to you.
And that is a good thing to point out. On the Michael Management website, you will notice at the bottom right corner, we're online, how may we help you? This chat button is available on every web page. So if you're on the website and you have a question, just click that start chat or use the info@michaelmanagement.com email address. We are here to help. So with that, I will say have a great day. I appreciate your time today, and hopefully we've answered some of your questions. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks all.